Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Tim Lee. I'm a research analyst at Red Cloud Securities, and I'm delighted to host a Red Cloud webinar on precious and base metals exploration today. We'll hear from Joe Kizis, President and Director, and Rob McDonald, VP Exploration of Equity Metals. During today's webinar, they will provide an overview and outlook. Then we will take questions. You can type your questions into the chat box at any time, and we'll get to as many as we can. Before we kick things off, first, we need to discuss some fine print. During this Equity Metals webinar, forward-looking statements may be made. I would direct listeners to the company's forward-looking statements outlined on page 2 of the Equity Metals corporate presentation. And that can be found on the company's website, equitymetalscorporation.com. For Red Cloud Securities, Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only. It should not be considered a solicitation or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this call does not consider the particular situation or needs of individual investors, and participants should rely on their own investigation and seek their own professional advice before investing. Please see our most recent research located on the Red Cloud website for specific disclosures pertaining to equity metals. So Equity Metals is primarily focused on its flagship Silver Queen project in British Columbia. This project hosts high-grade epithermal gold and silver-rich veins that also have a nice base metal content. Project has seen a fair amount of historic work, and the Equity Metals Group is now building on that past work and bringing a modern, systematic approach to exploration on the property. With that, I now turn it over to Joe and Rob to update our audience on the company.
Okay, so Equity Metals Corporation, based in Vancouver. I'm president. I'm based in Reno, and Rob McDonald is the vice president of exploration. And basically, I'll go through a few overview slides for the company, and then turn it over to Rob to provide some details on our flagship property, which is the Silver Queen project. And of course, as mentioned, I will be doing some forward-looking statements, because that's what exploration is all about. And next slide here is it's sort of an overview. So this is a property that a company that we took over management of in late 2019. They were having some difficulty raising money. They had a high-grade resource that they were trying to put into production, and the market wasn't very excited about that. One of the engineers that they hired, and was on the board of directors, had worked with Rob and I on the Homestake Ridge project in British Columbia for another company that we were exploring. And the success we were having there reminded this particular engineer of the Silver Queen project. So we took a pretty hard look at it, took over management at the end of 2019. And one of the things that caught our attention was the really exceptional grade assays for some of the veins, and the fact that there were a lot of veins on the property. There were over 20. The geology, we felt this was probably what would be classified as an intermediate sulfidation vein system. Those are typically associated with porphyry systems. There are a lot of big porphyries in the region, and we felt like we could add quite a bit of value to the project by looking at it on more of a district scale. So our intermediate target, which we hope to accomplish during 2022, is to bring that initial resource up to the 1 to 1.5 million gold equivalent range. And we're going to be doing a resource on a part of the deposit that was not considered in the 2019 resource, and that's the camp vein. And we'll talk quite a bit more about that. That's been our focus. A little bit, there was some other assets in the company, a couple of diamond projects in the Northwest Territories. We're currently well funded for the exploration work that we have planned and are in the process of. And Rob and I have worked on these kind of projects as well as others in the past. So turn the next slide here, show you where the properties are. The diamond projects up here, Silver Queen located here, and then we have two other assets that we're hoping will add value to the company with some further work. One is a silica project in Saskatchewan, high purity. We're doing some sampling of that right now. We also have a royalty on half of the Greenwood district, which is a pretty substantial, pretty significant amount of production from the property that we have, the claims that we sold. The Phoenix mine produced over 500,000 pounds of copper and over 1 million ounces of silver. So there's quite a bit of exploration potential here, and we're hoping that that royalty will add significantly to the stockholders' value. A little bit about the company itself, really low market cap at this point, about 14 million shares. Most of that is retail. We took over the company. The share price was around 5 cents. We did a financing at 8 cents, and now we're trading somewhere in the 14-cent range. And so that was basically because of some of the exploration success that we were having. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. As far as the board, pretty typical, a lot of legal, a lot of geologic input. You know, Rob and I are geologists. We've been an exploration geologist for quite a while, and accounting, of course, as well as some other business aspects. So the project is located here, sort of the western side of central British Columbia. A lot of mines in the surrounding area. We started out with a with nice resource here. This was done just as we joining the or taking over management of the company, and we've had some pretty nice success with our drilling so far. One of the other aspects of the property that caught our attention was just the the location of it. Great logistics. You can see the town of Houston over in this area here, and nice paved road, good gravel road down to the Huckleberry mine. There's power down there, plenty of water, of course, in this part of British Columbia. You can see in this photograph here the entrance to the camp. So photography, rolling hills. A lot of that is kind of rolling ranch land. So with 20 veins already identified and a lot of opportunity for covering up additional veins, we're pretty excited about the program. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to Rob, and he's going to give a little bit more detail on the Silver Queen project itself.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you all for joining us in this presentation. And so this is a map of the veins that have been identified on just this portion of the Silver Queen property. It's on the western side of the property, and you can see easy road access with the there we go with the Morris Owen Highway running down through there. It's a Forest Service road, and so this has been a long-lived property. It's been active since 1912 in exploration with a limited amount of historic production. The mineralization is a series of epithermal veins that occur throughout a 6 square kilometer area, and that there's significant underground development. And you can see that in along here, that's in green, in here and down through here, and that was focused on what's called the number 3 vein. That is the area that has seen the most work and drilling on the property. There's over 500 drill holes on the property that have identified not only the number 3, but a series of veins, including the Camp vein target off in here, the NG3 off in here. This is an area now that we call the Svensson extension, and then you have some other veins up in the northeastern part of the property and also the southwestern part of the property. So we started off with a very good resource base. So pretty soon after we assumed the management of the company in 2019, a resource estimate was put out that was commissioned by the previous management. This is quite a good resource. I mean, we've got about 50-50 in indicated and inferred categories. The highlight, of course, though, are the grades. and looking at around 9.3 grams per ton gold equivalent in the indicated category, 7.5 in the inferred category. So quite high grade mineralization. That translates out to around 440,000 gold equivalent ounces, or just under 40,000 silver. 40 million silver equivalent ounces. So it gives us a very good starting point, an area upon which to grow. And so with the project now, a little bit more detail, an update of what we've done since we started drilling on the property in late 2020. We've completed 63 holes, just under 20,000 meters of drilling. We're back on the property and drilling again. So we're now up over 20,000 meters of drilling on the property. We're focusing on the high grade bonanza silver and gold veins. We've done drilling on the Camp vein target in here, over into the number 3 vein off in here, and then most recently we focused on what's called the Svensson extension, just in this area, and now we're starting drilling here in the NG3 area, and so we've completed. Let's see. 12 holes in the Svensson extension. This has been extended about a 1 kilometer extension of the Camp vein system, and now we're targeting new drilling in 2022 on the NG3. This is around a 2.5 kilometer long east-west trend, and it's one of several east-west trends that are identified throughout the map area. These seem to be a conjugate set to these more northwest southeast trending structures like the number 3 vein and the Coal Lake and the Coal Lake system up in here, and so it's a big vein system, high grade mineralization, gold and silver in the number 3 vein, primarily silver in the Camp vein, and again gold and silver at the Svensson, and gold and silver at the NG3. We've recently, throughout the fall, we're drilling on the Camp vein. We've just put out updated mineral or updated intercepts from the Camp vein system. We've had some tremendous highlights and tremendous grade mineralization that has come from the Camp vein at this point. Only 8,300 meters have been completed, and these are the sorts of values that we've been getting, that we've been returning. 0.3 meters, 56,000 gram per ton silver, 14,000 gram per ton silver, 7,600 gram per ton silver, 11,500 gram per ton silver, as well as in this area up in here. It's a hanging wall vein, previously unmodeled. We've been getting some excellent gold and silver and copper mineralization. So there's more value that we've added on here. When we first got the Camp vein, there was about 50 historic drill holes on it, and we figured that this would give us a leg up in bringing these assays or these results, this zone into the updated mineral resource estimate. Previous workers were unable to resolve some of the geometry of the veins. We looked at this and felt that there was some good east-west orientations to the mineralization. We've identified 4 mineral trends. There remains hanging wall mineralization left to develop, and mineralization projects to the east through into the Svensson trend, which continues on for an additional 1 kilometer to the east toward the number 3 area. So again, these are some of the most recent assays that we've returned. Again, highlight zones of mineralization as well as thicker zones of high grade mineralization as well, primarily a silver bias, but we are seeing some high grade gold values. And you can see some nice high grade or some good associated gold mineralization as well within the mineralizing system. So all of this is getting rolled into some additional modeling, and we have a plan to put out a resource update in the middle of this year, so the end of the second quarter of 2022. And so we're working towards this while we continue exploration on other parts of the property. An example here of styles of mineralization that we have on the project. So you can see some of the high-grade silver veins, again, quite nondescript, or other silver gold veins that have more classic epithermal textures. Or again, these more polymetallic veins take on a darker appearance, fine-grained sulfides throughout the veins. This is reflected in the high base metal numbers that you can find in the zones, as well as quite robust precious metal numbers. And then this is an example of some of the drilling that we recently completed on the Svensson target, and that's hole 51. And this is a fairly classic epithermal styled vein with a nice banding and some quartz after calcite texture, as well as some good sulfide mineralization within that as well. So this is what we've been completing with the Svensson target, the Svensson vein system. And so our belief is that there's a structure that goes through the system from west to east into the number 3, and then as you come out on the to the east of the number 3, that transitions into the NG3 system. We have about a 1 kilometer target that we wanted to test, and so we started out with wide space drilling from these sites off in here. And we're getting some of the initial drill testing. The sense that we have is that these original 4 mineralized structures that we identified, modeled in the camp vein, they extend to the east, and you pick them up somewhat discontinuously, but you still pick them up in various drill holes that we've tested in that testing of the Svensson target. There's 12 core holes, just under 5,000 meters drilled, and we have assays pending over the coming weeks. So we have more news flow coming along, and now drilling has started up again on the NG3, and actually in this little hanging wall area of the camp and the Svensson areas as well. So again, we have more news to come. Drilling has started again on the project, and we'll have continued news flow for the coming weeks and months. And so just to back up a little bit as to some earlier work that we did on the project. This is the number 3 vein, and so this is the number 3 vein down in here. And we have the resource estimate was from the number 3 vein. You can see the distribution of the higher grade mineralization in the resource estimate. We have you can see that we drill tested to verify mineralization within the already modeled zones. We've got a sense of the width of the alteration zone, the number of veins that we were able to identify. Came back with some good high grade values in the internally within the model, verified the model, and then we have other assays from particularly this area and this area in here that are giving us some excellent follow-up mineralization, in the sense that we have further down dip projection of our mineralization, as well as the potential to move laterally to the east into the NG3 vein system, which projects to the east a further 700 meters. And so moving on, and just touch on it briefly, the diamond-bearing kimberlite properties that we have up in the Lac de Gras area of the Northwest Territories. The Monument project is our main project there. It sits around 40 kilometers from each of the Encadi and the Diavik mines. It's We are the operators of the project, owning more than 50%. It's very well located. There's 8 different diamond-bearing kimberlites on the project, and there's more potential to be had. We've just recently completed a ground mag on the northern part of the claim block. Have identified some additional targets and maybe looking probably next winter to be going back into the project. The WO project is located just to the south of the Diavik project in this area, and we are a junior partner on that one. This project was sold to De Beers by Peregrine Diamonds a couple of years ago, and there is some rough diamonds of large carat diamonds on there. It's adjacent to Diavik and may end up being a pretty good project in its own right that could provide us with some revenue or royalties in the future. And so to wrap all of that up, when you look at where we sit within our peer group, you see on a silver equivalency basis that we're getting a value of about 30 cents an ounce. Silver equivalency that lags some of our peer group in here. We think we can do a little bit better. So in terms of what's to look forward to moving in 2022, it's continued news flow for the next 2 quarters, an updated mineral resource late in the second quarter of 2022, and then continued assays as we continue to build mineral resources as we move onward in the coming weeks and months, as well as further resource expansion in the latter part of 2022 as we focus on expanding our targets on both Svensson and the NG3, as well as testing some other targets property-wide. And that's what I have here now. Happy to take questions.
Great. Thank you, Joe and Rob, for a very informative presentation. We'll now start the Q&A portion of the webinar. Reminder to everyone on the line that you can type your questions into the chat box at any time. And we already do have a few questions. First, obviously you had touched on the shareholder base, but who are your institutional investors?
I don't have that in front of me. I probably should, but they were actually brought in, I think, in the last financing with Red Cloud, and I don't have that off the top of my head right now.
Okay. And this is a little more of an open-ended question, but obviously you each have quite a bit of experience in the industry. Individually, what are you most excited about with this project?
I think at this point, where focus is on the high-grade mineralization, both gold and silver mineralization with the Silver Queen project. This is the flagship of the company. It's where we believe that we can add the most value sooner, and so our focus is on adding mineral resources to the resource base that we already have, and getting the project into an area where it may be attractive to either mid-tiers or majors that and producers that might want to either acquire or joint venture the project to start moving it into a production scenario. So I mean, that's really the focus of what we're doing right now. Do you have anything to add there, Joe?
Yeah, I think part of the excitement is the type of system it is. It's it's an intermediate sulfidation system, pretty similar to what we've found at Homestake Ridge, and we ended up finding a number of different clues to decide where to find new deposits. And so, when you look at something that has potential for the full district to be producing a number of different deposits, we were paying pretty close attention to the type of zoning we're seeing, which part of the system is going to be more gold bias, which part is going to be more silver bias. And so, with as much cover that we see there, when we see something that's more gold bias, I think we have to start looking around the outer edges of that, for bonanza grade silver. and vice versa in places where we see silver. That's one of the things that we were kind of thinking we probably see in the Svensson zone is a bit more copper and quite a bit more gold. And so right now we're sort of seeing both. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. And actually, to get back to your earlier question, Tim, I've just pulled it up. We have Cypress, Backer, Wealth, and Middlefield, all associate, all in the all as our institutional. Maple Leaf is in there, and then that doesn't include some of the flow through institutions that have come in as well. So yeah, we are starting to get a little bit more institutional looks at the company, and that is a work in progress. We continue building those networks.
Great. One other question here. Obviously, you do have a portfolio of projects, but are you looking for new projects, perhaps in other parts of Canada?
I think partially you have to understand as a junior, you have to distribute your assets and, the resources that we have. So, we'll always look at things, but, we also feel like we have tremendous upside potential at Silver Queen. That's where we're putting our assets now. I like the diamond projects, but again, I think when we look at where we can get the biggest bang for our buck, I think that's Silver Queen. And the more we learn about these systems, then, the faster we'll make discoveries.
Great. Kind of a different question here, but have you encountered any rare earths metals?
Not to any great extent. And so, yeah, nothing that actually jumps to mind. How about you, Joe? Do you?
No, not rare earths, but there are some other things that would be used in the electronics industry, gallium, germanium, things like that that are often associated. Yeah, rhenium. Those are things that are usually given in the recovery process. They're incorporated in sphalerite and chalcopyrite, things like that.
Great.
Yeah.
They're byproducts.
Okay, great. And kind of returning to Silver Queen here, do you have any plans to drill? Obviously, you have the epithermal veins, but there's also a porphyry target there. Do you have any plans to test that porphyry target?
Long term, I think that's. I mean, we're in a porphyry district, so that's an obvious question. Problem is, it's probably deep. The one apophyse that we have intersected is sort of the typical BC range, maybe 0.3, something like that, % copper. And if it's very deep, that's not very attractive. Something's driving these veins, and I don't think that the known porphyry is big enough to be that source. So, is there someplace else? Sure, possibly. But, as we drill out the vein, we're going to understand where the main, sort of focus of the fluid is and how it radiated out. And then that's the time I think you start thinking about some deep drilling for potentially a much higher grade copper deposit.
Okay, great. And one question back on kind of the corporate side. You obviously completed a financing late in 2021. Do you have sufficient funds for all of your plans for 2022, and how far into the future are you funded?
Well, we're funded. We have a cash position of about 2.6 million right now. That's sufficient to do the drilling that we've outlaid. There's there's lots of targets. So, our thought was that we should add the resource at the campaign and then do a preliminary economic evaluation and just see what needs to be done next. So, it's a resource update, trying to get close to or above that 1 million ounce magic target range, and then start doing the sort of engineering work that's necessary, metallurgical testing, those type of things. So, Yeah, we're probably going to have to do financing again sometime, late spring, summer, something in that range.
Okay, great. And one question here is, I guess, hand in hand with that, what is the insider ownership like with the company, and would you expect more insider in participation, I guess, in investments?
Well, remember, we took over a company, and so there's a lot of ownership by people that aren't any longer in the company. I'm just looking at what we have a percentage down here. Do you
Yeah.
remember what that is, Rob? Is it 8%?
Yes, it's about 6%, and that's basically as we have done financings. Various insiders and management have participated on an equivalent basis to the to the investor, to the average investor.
Oh, there it is.
We'll continue to do that. We did have management participation in the last round of financing, and we fully anticipate that there will be continued management participation in subsequent financings as well. So yes, management is strongly behind the project, and they're putting their own money to work in advancing the project.
Great. And then looking at the obviously the project that's had some past production and quite a bit of work, what are relations like with the local community and First Nations there in BC?
So far, things have gone very well. I'll also say that in terms of what we're doing on the project and on the property, it's still a pretty small footprint, and so I think we've been able to operate, operate quite easily as well. We have had and we are in correspondence with the local First Nations groups and some of the local people. We engage with people and certainly in the town of Houston, and utilize some local talent from the area to run our programs, and not only by requirement from the permitting requirement from the government side, but through our own initiatives. We've had First Nations on the ground looking at what we're doing, and at this point, as I say, it's we've got one drill turning, one core rig turning, and so it is a relatively small impact project right now as we sort of sort out the priorities in terms of what veins we should be drilling when, and how to stage those to bring them into updated resources and whatnot. So it's sort of a dull roar right now, but we certainly maintain good relationships with the local peoples.
Great. And I guess one kind of overall review question. And you had obviously highlighted what plans are, but just to review, what news would we expect to have over the coming weeks and months from Equity?
Well, we've got assays in the can from the Svensson target, and so we'll one should be anticipating some assay results come out. I would say within the week, and then probably at least one more release, possibly two more releases, but probably one more release from the Svensson target. And then, as I say, the drill is turning right now, and so we're going to have new assays that will be coming in the coming weeks slash months as we complete the program. We'll be drilling into probably early March, in terms of getting the work done that we needed to, and so one could expect some news flow into late March, early April, just from the assays, and then it's continue working on the resource update and that sort of stuff and that sort of work. Those are the things to look forward to as we move through 2022.
Great, great. A little bit of a follow-up question. Obviously, assay turnaround times have been a little bit of an issue in the industries. It's been busy, but what kind of times are you looking at? Have you seen any? I guess some places we've heard about alleviating some of the backlogs recently. But what have you been working with, and what kind of times have you been facing?
All of this, of course, depends on when you're submitting the assays and when you're submitting the samples. That period in the fall was terrible. You were often looking at 10 to 12 weeks turnaround for assays. But then once you get into sort of the December and January timeframe, things do speed up. And so we're probably looking at, from the time you finish a drill hole submitting, so maybe 4 weeks. By the time you finish the drill hole, get it logged, get it sampled, get it to the lab, you're probably on the order of about 4 weeks in terms of getting assays back at this time. But of course, as other projects start ramping up and the labs start filling up, that can get shifted out to 6 weeks pretty easily. But these days, right now, it's not too bad. I think in terms of speeding up, I think the labs are doing what they can. There's tightness in the market, in the industry, in terms of getting the right people to do the work, and COVID rules and regulations continue to slow things up as well. Hopefully, we're moving out of that now in the coming weeks and months, and that the labs can continue to train people and bring people up through the system that will make things go quicker.
Great. And I think based on some of the plans and timing, this is already kind of answered, but obviously seasonality, some projects have more seasonality. Are you able to do work on the project year round, or are there months when it's difficult to access?
No, we are able to access and work on the project year round. Of course, if you're working in the winter, it can be a little bit more expensive to do that sort of work. But certainly we are able to work year round, and we've also got good drill crews. We're up upwards of 3,000 to 4,000, sometimes more meters per month with just one drill, and so that's pretty good. So I think in terms of the scale and the scope of what we want to do right now, we're well and able to do it on a year-round basis with one drill. When I think you start looking at potential infill drilling and upgrading resource categories and whatnot, maybe that's a time when you can bring in second drills and be a little bit quicker. But as it stands right now, I think we're being quite cost effective in our drilling, and we are able to function year round. We're on the ground right now, and the drill is turning. So certainly you can operate in wintertime.
Great.
So Tim, this is really one of the features that really excited us about the project, because as I mentioned before, Rob and I were involved with the Homestake Ridge project, and we had a pretty limited field season, and you're always kind of wringing your hands until the last guy's off the side of the mountain, if the avalanche just hasn't taken him first, right? So this is really nice ground to work on, and we're getting similar assays to what you see on the Golden Triangle, so can't be better, right?
Great. Absolutely.
The road access is great. We're in a little bit of a rain shadow from the Coast Range, so you don't there is snow on the ground, but it's only about a meter of snow on the ground, which it certainly beats the 8 to 10 meters that you can get up in the Golden Triangle. And so it's yes, it's a little bit more expensive to operate, as because your daylight hours are less, and so as well as it's colder and not as easy to get around, but we are certainly able to function, and it's certainly a lot easier and cheaper than what it would be if we were working in the mountains in the Golden Triangle, for example.
Great. Great. Well, I think that's all the questions we had today. And I'd like to again thank Joe Kizis and Rob McDonald from Equity Metals for presenting today. And thank you everyone out there for tuning in. Just a reminder that Red Cloud Securities will be back tomorrow afternoon when we present Golden Futures, Tuesday, January 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great rest of your day.